Hello class. So in this GPS 33, we're going to look at factoring trinomials by grouping, part 3. So pretty much you're going to see some more examples, a little bit different examples, but similar. So let's just look at an example. So let's look at 33.2. So similar to what we did before, right? How many terms are there? There's 3 terms, right? So we have to factor. How do we factor 3 terms? We do AC method, right? So we do 3. So AC method says what? We gotta do 3 times 14, right? So ignore the negative sign. You're just gonna do 3 times 14, which is gonna give us 42. Okay, so what do? We list factors of 42. What are they? 1 and 42, 2 and 21, 3 and 14. What else? 4, nope, 5, nope, 6 and 7. Yeah. Okay. Now the one difference in these examples is you're going to notice, you might have noticed, right, is that look at the sign now. Look at the sign of C, the last term. Now it's a minus and not a plus, right? In the last 2 GPSs, the last sign or the sign of the C term was a plus. So that means we had to add to make the 19, right? But now, since my last term is minus, we need to minus to make 19. So you look at your factors now. Which one of these factors minus will give me a 19? Well, that's going to be 2 and 21, right? If we minus them, then we're going to get 19, okay? So again, you need to look at the last term to determine whether to add or subtract to make the middle term. So we see that we gotta use 2 and 21. So what I do, I'm going to rewrite the first term, 3x squared. Now the question is, how do I make a positive 19 using 2 and 21? Well, you have to think a little bit, right? How can I make a positive 19? Well, let's say I thought about using a plus 2x and a negative 21x. Okay, if I use this, right, what is 2x minus 21x? That would give me a negative 19x, right? So that technically doesn't work. How come it doesn't work? Because I need a positive 19x, right? I need to get a positive 19x, not a negative 19x. So a positive 2x and a negative 21x does not work. Okay, so you can't use a positive 2x and a negative 21x because that would give me a negative 19x. So if that happens, what do? You just switch the signs. So that means I must use a negative 2x and a positive 21x, right? Now check again. Does that work? Does a negative 2x plus a 21x give me positive 19x? Yes, it does. See? So that works. So that's the proper signs and numbers I need to use. And then I'm going to recopy this, right? Negative 14. Okay, so what do I do now? You're going to group factor, group, 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 group. What can I factor from the first two? I can pull out an x. So what's left over? 3x minus 2. What can I factor from the next two? I can pull out a plus 7, right? So what's left over? 3x minus 2. What's in common? 3x minus 2. What's left over? X plus 7. Okay, and that's it. Right, so same thing. Let's go to the next one. So again, I will do A times C again, 3 terms, right? So AC method, that would be 1 times 48. What's 1 times 48? 48. What are factors of 48? 1 and 48. 2 and 24. 3 and 16. Right? 4 and 12. 5 doesn't work. 6 and 8. I think that's it. And again, look at the last term. It's a minus, right? So that means we need to subtract to make a 2. Which one of these subtract gives me a 2? Well, it must be 6 and 8, right? 6 minus 8. 8 minus 6 is a 2. So what do? You're just going to rewrite the first term again, right? Same as usual, x squared. Now you got to make a positive 2 using, so you got to make a positive 2 using 6 and 8. How do I do that? By subtracting, right? Because remember, last term is minus, so that means we need to subtract to make a positive 2. How can I do that? Well, so again, you can use like a negative 6x and a positive 8x, right? That'll give me a positive 2x, right? One thing I should mention is when you're working these I actually forgot to mention it in the other GPSs. But basically when you're working out these examples, right? The order that you put the middle terms in does not matter. Okay? Meaning you can write it as negative 6x plus 8x, or you can write it as 8x minus 6x. Okay? They both will work. You will get the same exact answer. All right. So watch. I'll do this way, which I'm sure most of you might have seen it this way. Most of you might have seen it as a positive 8x and then a minus 6x. Right? I'm sure most of you thought about it that way because 8x minus 6x, right? That gives me 2x, right? So that works. Okay. And then let's just bring this guy down, right? So that's going to give me negative 48. What do I do now? I group factor, right? Group, 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 group. What can I factor out from the first two? I can factor out x. What's left over? X plus 8. What can I factor from the next two? Remember, this one's a minus, so I got to pull out a minus 6. So what's left over? X plus 8. See that? So what's in common? X plus 8 times x minus 6. Okay, and that's it. And again, remember, it does not matter the order in which you put the two middle terms, okay? So it doesn't matter whether you put the negative 6x first and then the plus 8 first. It does not matter. Same thing with the first example, right? In the first example, right? It didn't matter if I used negative 2x plus 21, or I could have used a plus 21x and then a minus 2x, right? Either way, they both give me a positive 19x. So if you want to try it using a plus 2x and a minus 2x, right, you get the same exact answer. Okay, and this applies to the previous two GPSs, like GPS 32, GPS 31, right? That applies as well. I just forgot to mention it in the other GPS. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, so maybe at this point you might want to pause the video and try the next few problems on your own. All right, I'm going to continue doing the rest of them. You can check your work. All right, let's continue. Okay, so this one, same thing, three terms, right? So AC method, 1 times 2, which is going to be 2. What effects of 2? 1 and 2, that's it. I need to subtract, right? I need to subtract to make a 1. So obviously that's the only term I have, right? So let's use that. So what do I get? It's going to be x squared. How do I make a plus 1? It must be a plus 2x and a minus x, right? And then minus 2. Or you could switch it around, okay? Like I said, it doesn't matter. You could switch these two around. You could have said negative x and then the plus 2x. You get the same exact answer because this still gives me a positive 1, x, okay? All right, well, if I do it this way, then what happens? I'm just going to group factor here. Oops. Yeah, I'm going to group factor here. Group, 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 right? What can I factor from the first two? I can factor out an x. What's left over? X plus 2. What can I factor from the last two? Remember that term's a negative. So you're going to pull out you want to pull out a negative 1, right? That's the only thing I can factor out, negative 1. So that becomes a x plus 2. So what's in common? X plus 2 times x minus 1. Okay, that's it. All right, next one, again, AC method. Oops, let me write it on my AC method. That's going to give us 6. What are factors of 6? 1 and 6, 2 and 3. And remember, I looked at the last term. I need to subtract to make a 5. Which one of these subtract gives me 5? 1 and 6 subtract gives me 5. So what do? Rewrite that first term. I gotta make a 5 using 1 and 6. So plus 6x and minus 1x, right? That gives me 5x. And then copy the other one, minus 3. What do I do now? I'm going to group factor, group, group, group. What can I factor from the first two? I can pull out 2x. What's left over? X plus 3. And look, that term is a negative. I'm going to pull out a negative 1 again. That gives me an x plus 3. Right, all signs change. And then I'm left with x plus 3 times 2x minus 1. Okay, and that's it. Let's look at the next one. Oh wow, that's it. Okay, that was quick too. Alright, yeah, that's it. Okay, so again, if you got lost anywhere, replay the video. Any questions, post on the discussion forum, and I'll see you guys next time.